So in this lesson we are going to study the conjugation of verbs, which basically means the way of manipulating the verbs to suit the context that you are trying to express or inform within your sentence. Okay, so there will be many things that I'll be saying which you need to note down, which I haven't exactly written down on paper. So whenever I mention anything that you feel is quite important or you haven't heard before, make sure you note it down so that you can learn from it instead of having to rewatch the video. Okay, so this is a diagram which I have drawn. This is something very popular which you see that many teachers do teach when teaching the conjugation of verbs. So they categorize it in past, present order, and on the right hand side they have the masculine, male, feminine, the female, with its branch over here which is written absent. So absent is basically when you're referring to someone who isn't in front of you necessarily. So when you're not addressing the person directly, so if you say he, them two, them three, yeah, she, them two girls, them three or more girls, understand? And on this section, again, male and female, but this branch is regarding a person that you're addressing, so which is addressee, which means a mukhatab. Okay, so when you're speaking to someone directly, okay, you're speaking to a boy directly, you're speaking to a girl directly, you're speaking to two boys directly, you're speaking to two girls, three or more girls, three or more boys. Okay, and then over here is this third branch is basically when you're referring to yourself. Okay, so when you're including yourself as well in a group, so I when you're talking about yourself, or we, so when you're talking about yourself within a group. Okay, so we're going to address each of these branches one by one. Okay, so here is a verb which says kataba. Okay, kataba, this means he wrote. Okay, he wrote. Okay, so writing, so he wrote. Okay, now verbs in the Arabic language always has a root word. Okay, so everything comes from a root, so they all begin from one source. Okay, and then it branches out into this, these, in all these ways. Okay, so the original default format of a verb is always in its past tense and singular male. Okay, just take this rule the way it is. Okay, so whenever someone is saying what is the root word or root verb of this particular verb, such as over here, you then go back to this original source, which is why I have highlighted it in red, which is kataba. Okay, this is the unchanged version of the verb when it's in its default position, which is in the past tense, singular male, and absent. Okay, so this verb consists of 3 letters. Okay, only 3 letters, which is kaf, ta, and a ba. So kataba. Okay, they all have fatha on top. You see the harakat on top, say fatha for a, you know, and then kasra for e, dhamma for u, so that like that. Kataba, which is the original state of the verb in its past tense, singular male. All right, now before we move on to these examples and how to manipulate the verb, I'm gonna address this column over here. Okay, so if you see over here, these are pronouns. All right, so huwa, what does that mean? He. Huma, which is them two. Okay, them two male. Hum is them three. So when you are referring to a group of males who are absent, what do you say? You say hum. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to say he is fat, I would say huwa samin. Samin means fat. Okay, so you don't have to know the meaning of the sentence necessarily, but I'm just showing you how these pronouns work. All right, Then you see here, which means she. Huma means them two girls. Okay, so huma for male and female is both same, so male, female. So huma can be referred to both the male and both the female. Alright, and then hunna, which basically means them three or more girls. So when you're referring to three or more girls, you say hunna. And then we have over here anta, which means you, to a male. And then how do you address two male? You say antuma, so you two, and then antum is you three or more. So antum plural, okay? When you're addressing three or more people. And then for feminine, again anti. So the difference is the kasra. So you say anta over there with the fatha, and anti is the kasra over here. And then you have antuma, which is the same as the male. So when you're addressing two girls, okay, you say antuma. And if you're addressing three or more girls, you say antunna. And then for I, you say ana. If you're referring to yourself, which means I, and nahnu means we. Okay, so this should be pretty simple to understand. Okay, now we're gonna begin with the absent category. Okay, when you are referring to a person who is not in front of you. Okay, he can be in front of you. For example, if I'm saying, if my brother is in the room and I'm saying he is sleeping, he is technically next to me, but I'm not addressing him directly. So if I was to say he is sleeping, he could be sleeping next to me, or he could be sleeping in another part of the world. I would still say he is sleeping. You understand? So that's what it means by absent, when you're not addressing them directly. So we see the default position version of a verb. The root verb is kataba. Okay, from this root verb is where you derive the other forms of the verb. Okay, so kataba means he wrote. All right, now when you want to make it present tense, so present tense is mudari', anything that's present, happening present, okay, it's mudari'. That's what it means. Mudari' is present tense. Kataba, so all you do is add a ya with the fatha on top. So you see this ya with the fatha, that's all you do. Yaktubu. And the haraka changes for the last two, and this one becomes sukun. All right, sukun is this stopping sign, for example, or in other words, in another form, it's known as jazm. So sukun, jazm, that's what it this is what that sign is. So yaktubu. All right, which means he is writing. Understand? So if you're wondering why did the harakat, so here we see all fathas, kataba, why did it change to sukun over there and dhamma to here and dhamma to there? Well, the reason being is because that's just how it is. Okay, when you're studying the Arabic language, you will come across many things where you're like, why does this happen this way, why does it happen that way? But sometimes there isn't always an explanation, and you just have to take it the way it is, and you have to make your mind adapt to the Arabic language, because there's no point comparing it to the English language. So you have to change your logic. The way you understand the language, it has to change whilst you're learning it. So the reason why this is dhamma over here, dhamma over there, is just because that's the way it is. When you're making it present, you have to change the harakat of the letters, but the letters still change. See, you see over here, kaf, taba, the root letters remains unchanged. Okay, all you're adding is a ya at the front. So yaktubu, which means he's writing. Then for past tense, if you want to refer to two boys writing, so two boys are writing something, you would say kataba. So if I was to say Ahmed and Faris, okay, two boy names, they're writing something, I would say Ahmed wa Faris kataba. Okay, Ahmed and Faris wrote. If you want me to complete the example, I could say Ahmed and Faris wrote a poem. So I could say Ahmed wa Faris kataba shi'r. Okay, Ahmed wa Faris kataba shi'r. So shi'r basically means poem. And then if I wanted to make it present tense, all I do is add a ya at the front, and then at the front of this part over here, so, and then noon at the end of it. See, so yaktubani. So from kataba, it became yaktubani. So which means them two are writing. All right. So now if you want to refer to 3 or more boys, okay, you say katabu. Right. So all you're doing, adding to the original format of the verb, you're just adding a wow with the alif there. This alif is rather silent, so you put a dhamma on the back and you say katabu, which means them 3 boys or a group of boys wrote. Okay, plural can refer to, you know, more than 3. Okay, it's not just 3. And then to make a present tense, you just add a ya different, so you be consistent with the present tense. So yeah, the front over here, yeah, the front over here, yeah, the front over here. And then you're adding a noon at the end. So if you look at this over here, you're adding a ya and replacing the alif with the noon basically. So it's yaktubuna. That's all you're doing to make it plural in its present tense. Okay, which means them group of boys are writing. Okay. Now moving on to the feminine version. So if I wanted to say she is writing, all I do is add to the original verb a ta with the sukun. So you see, katabat. So nothing else changed. All you're doing is adding a ta with the sukun, which means she wrote. Okay. Now if I want to make a present tense, all I do is add a ta with the fatha at the front. So over here you can see we were adding ya with the fatha. Here we add a ta with the fatha, which means she is writing. Okay, very simple. Then huma, which means them two. So them 2 girls wrote something. What I do is add a alif to the end of the singular version, so it becomes katabata. You see, which means them 2 girls wrote. And then to make it present tense, you put a ta at the front and you add alif noon at the end. Okay, so don't get mixed up into thinking an alif noon comes after this additional ta. No. Okay, the alif noon just comes straight after the final letter of the original verb, which was kaf taba. See, kaf taba. So kaf taba we see over here. Okay, kaf taba. You add an alif at the end with a noon after and the ta at the beginning, so it becomes taktubani. All right, which means them 2 girls are writing. It's present tense. Then hunna, which is when you're addressing 3 or more girls, you just add a noon with a fatha at the end of the original verb. So it's katabna. All right, katabna. And to make it present tense, it's yaktubna. Now this might throw you off a little bit because you're thinking, okay, this has a ta at the front, this has a ta at the front. Why does this have a ya at the front? Well, like I said earlier, that's just how it is. There is no explanation to it. It's just the way the Arabic language is. Okay. It's only with practice will you get used to manipulating verbs on from the top of your head, basically. Okay, so you add a ya at the front and you add a noon at the end. Okay, this might seem a bit out of pattern, if you want to call it, but it's just how it is. Okay, so yaktubna means them 3 or more girls are writing. Them 3 girls are writing. Them 4 girls are writing. Them 5 girls are writing. However many number you want to address, this is what you use. Okay, you add a ya at the beginning of the verb, the root verb, and noon at the end, noon fatha. Now we are going to move on to the second branch of it, which was when you're addressing someone. Okay, so when you're addressing a male, okay, a single male, you know, when you say you say anta. Okay, anta means you, and you just add a ta with the fatha at the beginning, at the end, sorry. So you say katabta. So do make sure to identify the difference between she and you. When it's she, it's katabat. So the ba has a fatha and the ta has a sukun, katabat. Okay? Whereas when you're addressing a single male directly, you're switching the harakat. Okay? So sukun was at the end over here, sukun goes over there. Fatha was over there on top of the ba, fatha goes on top of the ta. Okay? So don't get mixed up between these two. Again, with practice, you'll get better. Okay? So katabta, which means you wrote. Alright? If I want to say you are writing, I would say taktubu. Okay, so if I said what are you writing, madha means what. Okay, so if I wanted to say someone, I saw him sitting down writing something, I would be like, what are you writing? I'd say madha taktubu ya Ahmed. So what are you writing, oh Ahmed? Okay, it's very simple. So just add a tad different. But here is a point to note where you see taktubu over here and taktubu over there. Both are same. So this is another thing that could add to the confusion for a beginner, but again, more practice means you get better at your conjugation of verbs. So taktubu and taktubu, you see in two places. When you're addressing a girl who's absent, so she's writing, and when you're addressing a person directly to a male, you're writing. So she's writing, you're writing to a male, yeah, are both the same. But again, how do you differentiate between the two? Well, based on the context, okay? If you see someone use the word taktubu in a book or in a dialogue, you try and see, put two and two together, look at the context in where the word is being used, and you'll understand, is this person referring to a female or is he referring to a male? Is he referring to an absent female or a male who he is addressing directly? Understand? Like, for example, if I'm speaking to my brother and I say ماذا تكتب, of course I'm referring to this verb. How I would not be referring to that verb if I'm speaking to my brother directly, would I? So that's how you differentiate between the two. Now there's an additional column here which says order, and you see over here which says uktub. Okay, now order is basically when you are ordering someone to do something. All right. And you can only order someone to do something if you're speaking to them directly, if you're addressing them directly. You can't address or give an order to someone who is absent. Okay, so whenever you tell someone go do something, you are speaking to them directly. You're giving them an order. Because this is why this is empty over here, but we see the words in this section. Okay, because you're addressing a person directly. All right, you could be addressing one person, two person, three person. We'll see that over here right now. So if you see uktub, there's an alif, so ignore the hamza, it's not meant to be there. It's a bit of a typo. So dhamma over here and the alif. Okay, so alif dhamma at the front, and the kaf has a sukun, ta has a dhamma, and ba has a sukun. Uktub. Okay, so you see the three letters over here, kaf, ta, ba. Again, this never changes. Okay, this is the root three letters of this particular verb. Okay, so they have to be there. All right, only the harakat change, and you may add things at the front, you may add things at the end, but the three letters will always stay there. Otherwise it will take away the meaning of this verb entirely. Understand? So uktub, all you do is alif with the dhamma at the front, and you turn the last letter into sukun, which means right. So if I'm addressing a single male, okay, if I'm addressing one boy right now, if I saw Ahmed sitting in the room, I'd say write something about uktub. Okay, it's me giving him an order. All right, then next part, which is antuma, when you're addressing two male. All right, so you two. All right, so if I said you two wrote something, all I do is add tuma at the end. So you see over here antuma, so katabtuma, just adding tuma at the end. Same thing over there, you see anta, the ta with fatha, you're just adding that at the end, katabta. Antuma, same thing, katabtuma, you're adding the tuma at the end. Okay, which means you two wrote something. All right, katabtuma. Then to make a present tense, you add a ta at the front, and you add a alif nun at the end. So taktubani, so you two are writing something. And if I want to give an order to two boys to write, I would say uktuba. So all I'm adding is the alif at the end of the order of the singular one. So uktuba, which means you two write. Then moving on, so when you're addressing a group of boys, what do you say? You just add tuma. So antum is you three or more. Okay, three, it could be you three or three or more boys. So antum, all I do is add tum at the end. Same thing, yeah. Katabtum, to make it present. So katabtum is you three or more boys wrote something. All right, then taktubuna, you just add a ta at the front with a waw known at the end when you're addressing three or more boys. So you three boys are writing something, taktubuna. Okay, and to give an order to a group of boys in a classroom, let's just say you're teaching a bunch of boys, you want them to write something, you say uktubu. Okay, so alif remains consistent, and you add a waw with the alif at the end. So uktubu. Okay, ordering a group of boys. Then swiftly moving on to the feminine version of it. So So when you're addressing a girl directly, you say you, which is anti. So same thing, you just add a ta kasra at the end as well. So katabti, okay, you wrote something, and you're speaking to a female. Okay, if you want to now then say, so this might be again a bit different to the usual pattern of things. So if you are asking a girl, what are you writing? You just say taktubina. So you add a ta at the front, and ya noon follows at the end. Okay, this ya noon might seem like, you know, a bit out of place, but again, it's just how it is. So what are you writing? If I'm saying that to Fatima, I would say ماذا تكتبين يا فاطمة. Okay, simple as that. The kaf taba again always remains consistent with all the verbs. When you're ordering a girl, you say uktubi, so you add a ya at the end. So if I'm ordering a girl, if I'm ordering a single girl, so if I said Fatima, right, I would say uktubi ya Fatima. You see? So addressing two girls, and tuma again, katabtuma, that stays the same as the past tense of the male one. So katabtuma, so when you're addressing two girls, you two girls wrote something, you know, Fatima wa Khadija katabtuma. Okay, then if I wanted to say you two girls are writing something, present tense, taktubani, so ta comes at the front, alif and noon at the end of the main core verb letters. And if I'm addressing ordering two girls, it's the same thing as the male. So just to waste uktuba over there, if I'm speaking to two girls, I'd say uktuba, same thing. And then addressing three girls or more, I would say katabtunna. So antunna, you see, when you're speaking, referring to directly to three girls or more. So you said tunna at the end, you see over here, antunna. So you say katabtunna again. And addressing three girls or more in present tense, taktubna. Okay, so I say antunna taktubna. Okay, and order is uktubna. So alif stays consistent once again, and you just add a noon with a fatha at the end. All right, and now when you're addressing yourself, it's fairly simple. So ana means I, and if I want to say I wrote something, okay, you just add a ta with a dom at the end. So katabtu. It might seem a bit random, but again, this is how it is. All right, you're probably thinking, where did this ta come from? Well, this is how you say this is what you do when you're referring to yourself. Okay, when you are referring to yourself. And if you want to make a present tense, you just add an alif at the end. Okay, the alif somewhat makes sense. Like, for example, I, you know, ana. It's like sort of the letter I sort of resembles the alif in maybe this is one way that I do it, but so when you're referring to yourself, you did something, you just say aktubu. And nahnu is we, so we say katabna. You just add a noon with a alif at the end, which means we wrote. Okay, and naktubu is we are writing. So the noon just switches places from the end to the front. So when it's at the end, it's a past tense. When it's at the beginning, it's present tense. So for past tense, you will notice that all these pronouns, they're added to the end of the verb. Okay, with present tense, there's always something at the front, and depending on its quantity, there is something at the end. Okay, so there's something very important to take a note of. Write that down if you need to, so that you remember that whenever you see a verb and you see one of these letters at the end, then you know it's past tense. Okay, so like alif, for example, the waw, the ta, the noon, the mim, alif with the ta, tum, ti, tuma, tunna, tu, na, at the end of it means it's past tense. Okay, and the beginning of the present tense, there's usually a ya, ta, or alif. Okay, now that we've completed this table, we are going to go through a couple of examples that I have written over here. Now, before I move on to this page, you need to be mentally prepared for what we are about to start. And that's because I will be addressing many different types of verbs, and usually the verbs follow this pattern, but then there will be certain verbs which have slight alteration to them, and you just have to slowly adapt yourself to the Arabic language in order to get used to it, basically. Okay,